is Joyce Glass with Tips from the Right Coach. And this week I am interviewing Edie Melson. She is an author. She is also one of the directors of the Blue Ridge Mountains Christian Writers Conference, as well as Mountainside Marketing Conference. Both of those are great. I attended Blue Ridge last year and absolutely loved it. She also blogs at The Right Conversation. It is a Reader's Digest. What did you say? Top 100?
It's a Writer's Digest, top
Writers,
101.
Writer's Digest, top 100 site to help you with writing. So you definitely want to check that out. So it's therightconversation.com. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
That's
Edie
correct.
is here with us today, and she is going to share some of her pearls of wisdom with us to help us learn the craft, but also learn how we can be better at writing. And so Edie, share with us some of the, a little about your journey into writing and a little bit about you and your family.
Well, my mother will tell you that I have always been a writer, ever since I could hold a red crayon and crawl to a white wall. So I guess I've always done writing, but I didn't get serious about it until the late 90s. And at the time, I had very small children, and it was very difficult to find the time to write. And that was when I discovered that you never just find the time to write. You have to actually chisel it out of solid granite. And so that's when I began taking my own writing seriously and helping others on their journey as well.
That is wonderful, wonderful. So how many children do you have?
I have 3 boys. They're all grown. 2 of them are married. And they were very active children growing up.
I can imagine. I only have one boy, and he was active enough. So multiply that by 3, and I'm sure they were all over the place, right?
Most definitely. Pardon me?
Any grandbabies yet?
Nope. Well, actually, I do have 2 grandkids because my oldest son and his wife live on a farm, and they have 2 baby goats.
There you go. So they're grandkids. That's so funny. That's great. Well, Edie, I know that one of your fortes is you really help writers with productivity. Can you give us a couple of tips, 3 or 4, or however many works for you, on how can we be better at managing our time for writing so that we can be more productive and actually get those writing projects done, and not sit there and dream about them and think, oh, I'll get to it eventually.
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest things that we have to do as a serious writer is we need to schedule our time effectively. It's really hard for people around us, our friends and our family, to take us seriously as a writer if we don't take ourselves seriously. And so if we don't make it a priority, why should friends and family make it a priority? So I tell writers that it is a myth that you have to write every day, but you do have to write regularly. And I recommend that you come up with a schedule that is reasonable for your lifestyle. It might be that you can only write on the weekends, or it might be that you can only write 2 or 3 evenings a week, or maybe mornings are better for you. When our boys were little, my husband and I worked out a system that I was mommy all day and into the evening. And as soon as everybody went to bed, I got back up again and went into the dining room, and I wrote from about 12 o'clock midnight until about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 nights a week. And on those days, my husband would get up in the morning with the boys, get them ready, breakfasted it, and off to school. And I would sleep in so that I could get those valuable 8 hours. So I think it's really important that we schedule our time and that we make it a priority. The second thing is that we need to turn our friends and family into allies instead of saboteurs. And because a lot of times well-meaning people will drag us away from writing, or they'll always be suggesting that there's something more valuable to do than writing or more fun. And so, especially with family, one of the things I learned early on was to build in family rewards for when they let me do the writing that I needed to do. So
Mhm.
I would tell my boys, if I get my word count, then this weekend we're going to the zoo or we're going hiking or whatever. And suddenly they were very interested in me sitting down at the computer and writing. And we can do the same thing with our husbands or our wives and say, sweetheart, we're going to do this, or I'm going to spend all day with you doing this, or I'm going to help you with this project, but I've got to get this done first. And then we also need to be true to our words, because if we tell a child just 5 more minutes and we take an hour and a half, to them, that's lying. And so if we stay true to our word, if we tell somebody, I just need an hour to work on this, then no matter where we are, we need to stop at the end of that hour so that the people that we love can trust us. So I think that's very
Great
important.
idea. That's a, especially people with children. I mean, and your spouse too, definitely. But children, they're only small for a little while. I blinked and my boy grew up. And so, there are times I do regret that I didn't spend the time with him that I really wanted to, because I was busy doing whatever, that was important at the time. And, so carving out that and making it a mission for everybody, hey, let mommy do this. And then I can spend this time with you and I will be 100% focused, And I think that's good too. And it's good you get the balance and the break, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we can do it all, do a lot of it all, but we can't just do it all at once. And
Right.
so we do need to have that balance that you're talking about. And I think the other thing we have to do is we have to make an investment in our writing career. And I
Mhm.
really struggled with this early on because I was a stay-at-home mom, so we were a single income family, and everything writing related came out of the family budget. So if I went to a conference, that was a large chunk of change that came out of the budget that month. And so I had been going to conferences for several years, and I still wasn't to the point where I was breaking even yet, as far as my writing income. And one year it got close to the Blue Ridge Mountains Christian Writers Conference, and my husband said, "Hey, you haven't paid your deposit yet. You don't want to miss out." And I said, I just don't think I'm going to go this year. I just don't think it's a good use of our family funds and everything. And he sat me down and he said, if you decided that God had called you to be a nurse, or that you needed to change careers and you were going to be a teacher or an engineer, whatever, he said, we would have no problem budgeting for your college education or for the classes you needed to make that switch. He said, God has called you to this. And so I consider all of your conference expenses and your workshop expenses to basically be college for you. He said, and you need to see that and recognize that. So I just thought that was kind of amazing.
That's great. And it's great you have a supportive husband, because I know not everybody has a supportive spouse like that. They get mad or upset about the expenses. And so, you've got to work that out between the two of you, how that works best, and let them know that you are investing in yourself. And that if you do look at that as a college education, because it is, I went to Blue Ridge for the first time last year, and I've been to other conferences for speaking, and but it was invaluable what I learned. It really helped me, and not to mention all the people I met and having the time. Because at Blue Ridge, if you're not familiar, you actually can set an appointment and speak with an agent or an editor, or and then some of them were just writers, correct? That
Mm-hmm.
were consulting, and they gave some wisdom and guidance. I didn't have anything to present to an agent or a publisher, so I spoke with some of the writers, and they really helped me with that. And it inspired me. And then I've also made these connections with all these people now that I get to stay connected with every week in Facebook, So it's invaluable, that connection that you can make. It's not just an expense. It's also a connection that you're making with other people that are you're able to relate to each other and help each other out. So,
Absolutely. It really is who you know in this industry. So many of my leads for articles and books and things like that have come from fellow writers or from people that I have met at a conference. Because let's face it, if you meet an editor at a conference and you have that connection, they're going to be much more open to the emails that you send to them.
right, you're not just a nameless face that is emailing them, knocking on their door, going, "Hey, pick me."
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So definitely. So, do you have any other ones?
Well, I think it is also very important that that we writers write. And so it's really easy to get in a rut where we're reading about writing or we're talking about writing, and we actually have to sit down in the chair and write. And a lot of times we have to write through the junk to get to the gems. And so several very famous writers have been quoted as saying that, you can't fix a blank page. And that's really true. So we actually have to sit down and write.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's perfect too, because a lot of people feel like they have to get it RIGHT before they WRITE. And it's like, no, you just need to just write it out and get it out of your head. And that's what I tell people all the time. Do a free write of your
Mhm.
thoughts, whether it's working on your outline or because a lot of my outlines came from from doing a free write because I had all these thoughts, but they were kind of jumbled. And as I started writing it out, it made more sense, and then I could organize it, and that
Yep.
really helps. And like you said, that's where the gems are. But they're not going to come out until you start writing them because they're just sitting up here, and there's other things clogging it because you've got stuff in the way, and you don't have to worry about making it perfect. Because I tell people all the time, even Stephen King, C.S. Lewis, none of them, John Grisham, anybody you could think of, famous writer, has never written a perfect first draft. Not one.
Yep.
There is always this first draft that's just a bunch of gobbledygook junk, and then they go and they polish it up and work on it and make it pretty. So that's um, something that I try to help people understand because they're like, I don't know that I'm doing it right, or I don't know how to start. It's like, just write, just start. And then you'll get it RIGHT after you WRITE.
Yep. That's exactly right. Exactly right. So.
But I love, can you elaborate a little more about chiseling the time in stone? I loved how you had made that metaphor there. That was great. Um,
Well, I think it's, we always say, I'm going to write as soon as I get to this point, or as soon as I get through this crisis, or that crisis, or this season of busyness, or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, those seasons of busyness, whether they're absolute catastrophes or just life happening, is never going to happen. I mean, let's face it, life is never going to get unbusy. And so we just have to decide whether or not we're willing to make the sacrifice and to carve out the time and write no matter what, or we're not. And it boils down to that. It's just a matter of choice.
it is. It is. So tell me real quickly a little bit about your writing routine. What have you found that's worked for you? Because like we talked before, I'm sure it's morphed over the years in different seasons of life. It's been different. And like you had mentioned, when your boys were younger, it was you were writing in the wee hours.
Yes, I no longer do that. I can't stay awake that late anymore. But I have discovered the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out when your best productivity hours are, and then you need to guard those as much as possible. And for me, my best writing time comes from about 8 o'clock in the morning till about noon, which is very different because I used to be a night owl and now I'm just old. So, but what I do is I get up in the morning, I have coffee and quiet time and devotions with my husband, and then I come up here to my office and I spend the first 30 minutes doing all of my social media. because even though I am an expert at social media, I don't enjoy it. And so I get it out of the way. I either don't enjoy it or I get sucked into that hole that is Facebook.
And where
So
did the time go? 3 hours later, right?
yes, yes. So I set a timer and I spend 30 minutes scheduling my social media for the whole day. And then I minimize all my internet windows, turn off the notifications, turn on my music, and I just write.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I'm editing a novel or working on a nonfiction project, whatever it is, whatever my creative writing to do is, that's when that happens. And when I'm on a deadline or if I really need to do that, a lot of times I will either set my phone in another room or since my husband and I both work at home, I will give him my phone because my phone can be a big distraction. And so I will do that. And then I will, after I'm finished, I'll have lunch. I'll check my social media to see if anybody has said anything or, retweet a few things, stuff like that. And then in the afternoon, I will work on editing and business type of writing. But I like to have chunks of time when possible. But I always have my iPad or I always have my computer. So if I'm sitting at the doctor's office with my mother or something like that, I can carve out 15 minutes or 10 minutes to flesh out a scene or do a character sketch or outline a specific chapter in my new nonfiction book, whatever. But that's what my schedule looks like.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, and I shared with Edie before that I am not a strict schedule type person. It's hard for me to 8 a.m. I'm going to do this and 9 a.m. I'm going to do that. Because I am kind of I get sucked into things too, and sometimes it's social media, and sometimes it's, oh look, those dishes need to be cleaned up, or let me throw this load of clothes in real quick, that kind of thing. And I'm in the process of moving, so there's lots of those. Oh, we need you to do this right now, kind of things. But I do set priorities, and that's what's helped me. And I do set a timer too, like with my writing. A lot of things I'll set a timer and say, okay, for 30 minutes I want to work on this and focus on this, and then I'll give myself a few minutes break, and then I'll go for another 30 minutes or so, and that helps my brain just to know, okay, right now it doesn't matter who's texting, who's tweeting, who's whatever. You just don't worry about it and focus on it, and so unless it's a call from my husband, I don't answer the phone. So, and family has learned if I don't answer that phone, that means, hey, I'm working, so sorry, and that's it. And like you were talking about with family, you've got to let them know, and because my family's got upset with me many a time. Why don't you answer your phone? I'm working, and I know you think I stay at home and eat bonbons and watch TV all day, but I'm actually working. So, that you got to, again, it's just setting boundaries and letting people know. And of course, like I said, my son's older, so I don't have to deal with a young son right now, but I do have parents and in-laws and people that want to talk during the day because they're not working. so,
Absolutely.
so I
And
get
one thing I've found is it's really important to take time off. Like I have, for some reason, when I first started, I thought I had to work 7 days a week. And now I take Sunday off. I take Saturday off whenever possible. And I'm a much more well-rounded, rested, peaceful person than I was before. And because I work during the day, I get up and start working around 8 o'clock in the morning. I generally stop at 5. I don't like to work in the evenings. I like to have some family time. So I
Mhm.
think that's really important.
It is, and I'm hoping once I get moved, I can get a little more regulated. Hopefully, the life will be a little calmer. So, but I got 2 weeks from today, so we'll hopefully
Wow.
we will be out the door. So, then the next phase will be getting it all set up in the new house. So, I'm figuring by January I'll be good.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
So, but I still am. I took an hour yesterday to work on my novel, and so that's important. So, well, Edie, I appreciate it so much. Again, your website is therightconversation.com, correct?
Mhm.
Great. And mine is therightcoach.biz. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live, then we would greatly appreciate for you to check out our websites. And I'm sure you've got some way to subscribe on yours, correct? Um,
Absolutely.
yes, you can. So I share weekly tips. Do you, is yours weekly or monthly, or how do you send yours out?
Mine is every single day, 7
Okay.
days a week.
So she's very busy. I do
Well,
think
it's not all written by me. It's a group site that I
okay.
have started. So, but it's all writing related. So 7 days a week.
Good. Awesome. That is wonderful. Well, check both the sites out. We're here to help you and find us on Facebook and Twitter. And we will see you next week for Tips from the Right Coach. Have a great day.
Bye.